Good morning or afternoon, I should say. It is Friday, January 20th, 2023. It is 12:30 and it's time for Friday Conversations with Chris Edwards. And I am your host, Chris Edwards. I've got another great show for you today, and I'm going to bring my guests into the room so we can get started. Hope everyone's having a great week or had a great week and ready for the weekend. All right, here he is. Hello, hello, everyone. Welcome to the room. Welcome to the next episode of Friday Conversations with Chris Edwards. So my next guest, he's got a lot of titles, and let me just kind of run down him before he jumps on. Let's see if he's in. I did send him an invite. I want to make sure that he accepted it. All right, there we go. Hopefully he'll jump on in a second. Oh, and he sent me a request. Let's see which one takes first. Ah, here he is. Here he is. What's up, sir? How you doing today? Oh
What's up,
man,
Chris,
it's a
man?
pleasure.
Thank
It's
you
a
for
pleasure. So
having
let me give a
me.
brief introduction, and I'll let you jump into it. So, on the bottom of your screen is Mr. John Patrick Adams, also known as the Dope Ass Dude. We're gonna get into that and how you got that name. But besides that, he's a musician, an author, a composer, a podcaster, and a blogger. John, what's up, my brother? How you doing?
I am
I'm good,
amazing,
man. I
Chris. How
think this is
are
our first
you?
time actually talking in person together, right?
Absolutely, yeah. And the funny,
Yeah.
we've been following each other for a while now, and I definitely respect your grind and love
I
like what you're
appreciate
doing,
that, my
man.
brother.
It's
I
so
appreciate that.
inspiring.
So let's just jump into it. Tell people a little bit about yourself, and then I want to kind of like migrate throughout this whole process of, the different aspects of your life and how you got to the dope ass dude. Because that's really what I want to talk to you about in the podcast. So go ahead.
Nice. So Dallas-based guy here.
Okay.
So born and raised here in Dallas, and still here in Dallas. My family and everybody's here. So grew up a preacher's kid and all of that kind of stuff. So grew up in church, and so professionally, I'm an analyst. So I
Okay.
do have a full-time 8 to 5 gig. So I am a payroll analyst, and I've been in payroll for a while now. So recently turned 50. So exploring that whole new world.
Black don't
So
crack,
it's
my
been
friend.
pretty good so far. So I'm just. That's what I keep hearing, man. But I feel some cracks every now and then coming on. So yeah, just
Okay, so
just an
talk
easy
about some of the
breezy
other things
guy,
you do.
man.
You're a musician, you're an author, you're a composer, and we'll get to the podcast a little bit later. And then also you're a blogger. How do all those things tie into what makes up John?
Yeah, so I'm a Christian songwriter. I've been blessed to have a few songs recorded previously in the past and so forth. So I'm blessed to have had that. And like I said, I grew up in church. So naturally, I just navigated into being a Christian songwriter. In regards to the books,
Okay.
I've published 2 books so far. Yeah, the first book was called Naked. And it's just pretty much, I released that right after, I think I was like
Okay.
41 when I released that. And that book was just me coming to a place in life where I stripped myself naked of facades and perceptions of the world and just started
Mm.
kind of like living my own truth. And, it's funny, it took me, because I started that journey when I turned 38, but it took me 38 years to get to a place where you feel
Yes.
cozy in your own skin. Yeah, and you're able to just, share your journey and just be truthful. And that's how that book came about. It was just, I had just come out of a situation that was pretty bad for me. And I was at a
Mm.
low spot in life. So I started journaling. And once I started journaling, and that's how I got into the blogging and everything, because I just wanted to share my journey along with other people, because I know that whether you're male, white, female, black, white, whatever, we all
Absolutely.
share life experiences. So I wanted to like just be able to help people along their journey by sharing my journey. And so that was the first book, Naked. And then the second book is called How to Win the Dating Game. And of course, people automatically think it's a relationship book and a dating book. But with dating, you know, you learn more about yourself than you do the other
Absolutely.
person most times. And a lot of us are still learning. So the dating game and how to win it is you don't play the game. You don't get into the you know, expectations of people, because once you start comparing yourself to the trends and to the social media and all of that stuff, you
Absolutely.
always come up short because you're comparing yourself to a perception. So that's kind of like what the
It's,
book is
you know,
about.
I always find it fascinating how people decide, or when they decide to write books, or you know, that type of stuff, because it's so personal, especially like something like that. Um, and that was the second book. So let me ask you this: is there a third book in you?
No, I have checked it off my bucket list and I am done with that. So, you know, I loved it, you know, and it was a like a stripping down moment for me because, like I said, especially with the Naked book, because, you know, I don't care who we are. In some regards, we are
Yeah,
concerned with what people think of us. So to get so vulnerable and to be able to share that part of it, it was super freeing, but it was also scary. And now that
let
I've
me ask you
done
this,
that,
because I
I'm
always
good.
find this interesting. And you said you wrote the first book around what, 38? Okay. And that's around the
Yep.
time, like 38, 40-ish, is when people start really coming into their own and feeling comfortable in their skin and kind of like saying, to hell with the world, I'm going to be who I want to be and just live my best life. Do you feel that's that point where you kind of hit that stride?
Yeah, because you know, at that age, I think too, and especially like at 50, I tell people this all the time. I'm realizing, of course, I mean, I hope to make it to 100, but I realize that, you know, I have more years behind me than I do probably ahead of me. So why not just
Absolutely.
make it the best? And it was the same way at, you know, 38, 40, because when I turned 40, man, I was so excited about turning 40 because it felt like a
Yeah.
grown at that point. But it's like you do get to that place where it's almost frustrating to live up to expectations and perceptions of people that in life really don't even matter, but we find ourselves constantly going back and forth trying to measure up in some regards. So once I got to that age, I was just like, to hell with it. I'm gonna be me. I'm gonna do me, and you know, just see what
Listen,
life
I'm
brings.
totally there
So
with you.
yeah,
I totally get it. I totally get it. So let me just kind of dive into your Instagram feed for a little bit. So the John Patrick feed, because you had two feeds. You have one for um, dope ass dude as well, which I'm gonna get to. But I noticed that on your personal page, it's really more about you're giving a little bit of inspiration. You tend to do a lot of videos where you're just kind of giving, like I said, inspiration and testimonials in a way, and you're really in tune with your body and not afraid to show yourself. In a way, it's like that nakedness of it. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah. And you know what? The funny thing is, when I got closer to 50, I told myself because I had, you know, before I think I was 41, and I went on a trip to Florida. And that was like
Hmm.
my first time at a beach. Well, not first time at a beach, but my first time walking the beach shirtless, you know. And that was like one of the most freeing moments because before I would go to, you know, a beach, I would have shorts on, of course, but I
Okay.
would also have a shirt on, a t-shirt or something like that. So once I got to 50, I told myself when I was 49, I said, you know, if you get to 50 and you feel comfortable with your body, you're going to post a shirtless picture. You know, you're going to do that. And so that's what I've been doing. And then, but it's not all also not only about me, but I definitely want to even inspire
Yeah.
people that are my age because it's like so many of us, we get to a certain age and we in some regards we let go. We just let go and we give up on ourselves and we just think like, oh well, I've reached this age, so I'm supposed to look this way. I'm not supposed to do this. I'm not supposed to do
Yeah.
that. And that's a bunch of crap You know, that's a bunch of crap. And luckily for me, I have some of the most amazing people that I look up to or that I'm inspired by that are older than me, and they look amazing. And I mean, I know 60-year-old women
Yeah.
wearing two-piece bikinis with six packs, and it is just like so inspiring, and it lets you know, regardless to what age you are, you don't have to comply or concede to what the world say you're
Yeah.
supposed to
No, we
do
are
at a
definitely not
certain
our
age.
parents or our grandparents. Like being 50 and 60 and above is totally different now than a couple generations ago. And you know what? It's actually amazing, and it feels good to be living now. You know, other than technology, we're more self-conscious and aware of our bodies and the things we're putting into it and how we're maintaining our bodies so we can live longer. Yeah. So let's
Yeah.
move on. How did you get into blogging, and then we'll transition into the podcasting.
Okay. So blogging all started, it was just like I said, I originally started blogging with three of my friends. We had this blogging site, and it was christianbloggers.com. And we just, you know, for me, I started again
Mm,
blogging just to share my journey and just to, like, when I would have, because it was a, you know, transforming time for me, because when I would blog, I would write on my own personal experiences based on
yeah.
what I was feeling at that moment. And I always tell people I'm my best first thing in the morning. So when I wake up, I'm my very best. That's when my creative juices are flowing. So I would always write my blog
Oh,
then based on what
okay.
I felt at that moment, because at that point, the world hadn't interrupted my joy or my sadness or whatever I was feeling at that moment. And I was able to get that out.
Mm,
So blogging for me is very therapeutic, to be honest with you, because it allows me to, I guess, purge and detox what's going on in myself. And that's why I think I'm able to, you know, like look at life so good, because all the stuff that's in me, whether it's negative, good, positive,
yeah.
whatever, I try to get it out
Yeah.
and just share it with people. Or and if it's negative, I want to
You're ex you're,
get rid
you're
of it. So
exercising
that's how I
right
got
out of
into the
you.
blogging.
Yeah. Yeah. All right,
Yeah,
man.
yeah,
So listen,
exactly.
let's talk about
Exactly.
this podcast and this YouTube channel. And I found it very interesting that you called yourself the, you know, dope ass dude. How did that come about? And then how did the podcast start? Because I listened to the last one, which was a really, really good one. You had Don Birch, yeah, on was it last, I think it was
Work.
last week
Yes.
or the week before. Yeah.
Last
So talk about the
Monday.
experience of
Yeah.
transitioning from blogging and doing a podcast, and then also because the podcast is also on on your YouTube channel, correct? Okay.
Correct. So, so how all of that came out, it's all about evolution. You know, it's all about evolution, because, you know, blogging, now people are more
Yeah.
visual, so they want to watch you. So I transitioned from the blogging, just trying to evolve with times, you know, and keep up with the times. But the dope ass dude, and to be honest, at the beginning of last year, I was a part of another podcast with two buddies, and it was
Yes.
called Brown Liquor and Cigars. And so I kind of like branched out from there. You know, I kind of like stopped there. And then the closer I got to 50, and I believe, you know, I'm a Christian and everything. And, but, you know, God laid on my heart, dad, dope ass dude, DAD. And so when I got that, I was like, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. So initially the podcast was supposed to be about me bringing other guys on the podcast that I
Hmm.
believe are dope dudes, you know, and they're killing their grind and they're out there and changing the world and so forth. But then the closer I got to 50, I realized that not only is the journey about them, but it's also about me. Because when I turned 50, to be honest with you, Chris, I felt the most free I've ever felt in my life, but I felt the most lost than I've
Okay.
ever felt in my life as well. Because I didn't know what the 50-year-old John was supposed to look like, and it was stressing me out. I didn't know what, because like how you said earlier, the 50 and 60-year-old person is not our parents. So all I knew at 50 were like my parents and other people that I knew. And at that time they were married or they had kids, grandkids, and I don't have any of those things. So I was like, what am I supposed to be? What does the 50-year-old John supposed to look like? And to be honest with you, that was one, it was super stressful for me because I was like asking God, like, you know, I feel lost. What am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to look? How am I supposed to dress? And then I spoke with a good friend of mine, and this was right after I turned 50, and he told me, he said,
Yeah.
dude, stop stressing. He said, this is a journey, and you're not supposed to know what you're supposed to be at 50
Yes.
because this is your first time being 50. So just get out, experience things, look at it as an adventure, and do everything you
Yeah.
wanted to do unapologetically. You know, so that's how the Dope As Dude came about. It's about like just a guy that is living his life, because this is who I am right now. I'm just living my life, and each day I'm finding out new things about myself. And I'm trying new things. I have a goal every month. I try a new restaurant, or I try something, an activity that I've never done before, because I want to, like I said, I want to experience life for the best of whatever life has to offer me. I want to be free and open to do that. And I had to like really talk myself out of that feeling lost, because it's not so much
Yeah.
feeling lost, it's just you're exploring life and figuring out
Listen, I
what
think
you
you
want it
hit
to
the
be.
nail right on
So
the head. Every milestone that you hit in your life, you know, you can't look at other people and see what they've done, because that does not work for you. You have to take that journey, you know, by yourself
exactly.
and say, hey, look, this is where I am, and I'm just going to keep doing these different things. I love the fact that you've challenged yourself for every month you're going to do something different. I think that's so important for us to, one, not limit ourselves, and then two, to take risk on yourself, because no one else is going to do it but you. And the only way that you're able to
Absolutely.
grow and to become the person you're supposed to be in this world, in your life, is to challenge yourself on a daily basis, on a monthly basis, on a yearly basis. You know, I remember turning 40 and just thinking like the world is my oyster. I was not going to turn back, look at my 30s and 20s and look at the things that maybe that I didn't get a chance to do. I said, here I am at 40. This is a new start, an opportunity to do the things that I want to do. I'm going to be fearless. I'm going to be limitless and just live. And, you know, me doing that has brought me to this point to be able to have these conversations with you and people like yourself. So, you know, I love it. Continue to do it. Talk about how you come about bringing guests on, and like who you decide who you're going to bring on and the different topics you're going to talk about. Because I know that, you know, for someone who does it, it's always a challenge to say, well, who am I going to have on? What is interesting that we can talk about, and what can I learn and what can they learn by being on this journey?
Absolutely. You know, and the funny thing is, Chris, and I
I'll be
hope to
there.
have you on the
Yeah, just
show as
ask.
well, because
All right. All
hey, I'm
right. All right.
asking now, so we got to make it happen. We're definitely going to make it happen. You know, the funny thing is, you know, we are connected with some of the most amazing people, but we overlook them, or we take those connections for granted. So I am like super big on divine connections, because even when I look at you and when I started following you, I found you on Fly Ageless. You know, you were posting your fashions and everything, and I just saw you and I was like, oh my God, this guy, he knows how to dress so well. And I saw you out there, but who would have known back then when I followed you that today I will be on
Who would
Friday
have I would have
Conversations
had
with
this?
Chris Elwood. So we exactly. So we take so many things for granted, and I am so connected. You know, I've been connected with some of, you know, amazing people that are doing amazing things. So when I find out what they do, and I always ask them like, well, you know, I tell people this is bigger than what
Yeah.
this Instagram thing is. Our connection is bigger than me liking your pictures. So let's connect and let's try to find out what the true connection is, because again, I am so big on divine connections, and I believe that we are connected with people for so many reasons that we limit and that we take for granted or overlook and never experience, because we're not open to the realness of why we truly met them. So when I have the guys on the show, my thing is always to highlight them. So one of the questions I will ask is like, what is the takeaway you want people to have of you? And once they tell me that takeaway, that's what I work to try to make happen. So whatever their takeaway is, because when I go there, I don't have a list of questions. I do my research. Yeah, I do my research, and I tell them, I'm going to allow you to direct me and lead me on how you or where you want to go. So when they say something, I'm listening to them, and then that sparks the next question. And then we just go
John,
from there, and I just hope
you
they
ain't
leave
saying
with the,
nothing. Listen, what you just said is exactly what I do. And I think that's part of the reason why like I reach out to certain people. Because sometimes, you know, like you said, you can see people and how they post and stuff like that. But then also sometimes it's really about just listening to the words that people are saying, because people will tell you who they are. But it's up to you to listen to them. You know, me listening to like some of the stuff that you've said on Instagram, and then, you know, going and subscribing to the podcast and actually listening to the podcast and how you interact with your guests. I was like, all right, I need to have this brother on, you know, and it's because I think you have something to say. And what's most important for me is to allow you to navigate and narrate this conversation. You know, I try to speak as less as possible when I do this show, because I really think it's important for people to hear what you have to say. Don't nobody care about me. I mean, this is something that I just do, you know, on a weekly basis, whatever. But it's really important for me to get for people to hear what you have to say. Because one, what I really believe in is, you know, we're all on this earth for a reason, and we're all here to connect. Social media is about socializing. This format and having these conversations is about socializing, and then also giving people an opportunity to see you, because there might be a possibility that they've never met you before. They don't know your page. They don't know what you do. And you might be saying something that hits home with them. Then they're going to want to follow you and to
yeah.
get inspiration. And maybe you guys will connect. And, you know, it just keeps growing that way. So that's the purpose of doing this. So I totally get where you're coming from. And it's like two peas in a pod, my friend.
Yeah, you know, our jobs here on earth, and I always tell people, you know, I'm trying to live forever, and I know my life is going to expire one day, but once my life expires, I still want to make a mark on the earth. And I still want people to have been inspired by my life, and maybe something that I said while I was living that can still continue to move on. So that's why I do music, because I want my music to live forever. And then also I want my family, you know, if something was to ever happen to me, you know, they can go back and watch a podcast. Because I had a sister that passed, I think, like 4 years ago. And one of the saddest
Mm,
things is we don't have a
mm,
lot of things to go back and
yeah,
like we have pictures of her, but not a lot of videos to go back and hear her laugh and see her smile like when she's doing it. And so I try to, like I said, just create a moment for not, you know, for my family and friends after I leave here. And I do want to impact the
awesome,
world in
awesome,
some way.
awesome. So let me ask you this: what who do you have coming up in future podcasts? If you can talk about that, and then also you had made mention of something on, I believe it was the last podcast, something controversial that you said where you had women up in arms about. Talk a little bit about that.
So that's actually going to be
Okay.
this upcoming Monday's podcast. So I had Serge and Saron. They have a new podcast, Straight Up Real Talk Podcast. They just kicked theirs off, so extremely happy for them. And they were on the podcast, and Serge said something about women need to stop, and we were talking about toxic masculinity. And when we were talking about it, I said, well, women are lazy. You know, I said women are lazy, and everybody on the podcast kind of like gasped, and they was like, "Oh, I didn't say that." And I said, "Yeah, they're lazy and they're selfish." And what I was meaning in that is that a lot of women are with men, and they never ask their man, "How do you want me to support you?" You know, women hide behind, "Oh, men don't like that," or "Men don't need that," but they never ask their guy, what does he need? And then when Becky with the good hair find him on the other side of town and she give him what he really needs because she listens to him, then they're upset. So these women, some women got upset about that. So I
Okay.
have 2 women coming on the podcast. For first time women are going to be on the podcast. And I guess
No,
they're coming to let me
yeah, but
have it.
I
But
wouldn't
hey,
look
I'm
at,
going
I
to be
don't
ready.
approach the situation like that. I think look at it as a great way to have a great conversation, to have open dialogue. You know what I mean? I think
Right.
that's where it's gonna go. I know we're getting a little short on time, but
We,
I want to give you an opportunity if you want to plug anything that you got coming up, or just like I said, talk about the podcast. Tell people where they can find you, they can find the podcast and your YouTube channel.
So YouTube channel is, and here on Instagram, you can follow the Dope Ass Dude podcast. The podcast, we stream live every Monday, 7 p.m., where it's about an hour-long podcast. And then, like I said, every Monday, it's a different guy on the podcast. And he's just highlighting his grind. But you can ask questions there live and so forth. And it's just a great opportunity. And then my personal page is John Patrick Adams. So that's my personal page. You can find me on Facebook. I go by my full name, John Patrick Adams. And but yeah, that's it. You know, I'm a super simple guy, and but some great things coming up. And I keep, you know, putting this out here because I believe I'm gonna get this guy on my podcast one day, Kanye West. I'm telling you, Chris, that guy's gonna be on my
Okay, I'm
podcast.
gonna leave that one alone. I'll leave that one alone. Um,
we well, you know, when you come on the podcast, so since you now that you said you're gonna leave that one alone, I'm bringing it up. I want to know why
I'm not a
you're leaving
fan.
it alone.
I'm not a fan.
Really?
And I think I'm kind of tired of people using the excuse that mental illness. Um, he knows what he's doing. He's very bright,
Mhm.
and
Exactly.
I don't think he has to do what he's doing to get attention. He doesn't.
And yeah, and I do agree with that, you know, and the reason, and this is funny, I just started listening to Kanye within the last 3 months or so. So, because every morning I wake up and I have his music, because he has some really, really good music. And I think lyrically, he is amazing. He's a genius. He can write songs that make you think, and you're like, I've never heard that said that way. Now, the antics that he do in the world every day and the things that he says, I agree with you. I think he is a genius in regards to staying in the spotlight and keep people talking about him and making people hate him. Because people, even though they hate him, they're still going out and supporting him.
Not I.
So
I
he's
said not I.
monopolized.
Look,
Huh?
I jumped off that bandwagon many, many, many years ago. It doesn't, like I said before, people tell you who they are, and believe them. So I'll just leave that at that. But I do want people to know where they can where can they find your books?
Uh, you can find my books. Actually, you can just DM me and I'll send you a complimentary copy.
Okay.
Yeah, you can just
All
DM.
right, I'll make sure that
Yeah,
when we
we'll go
put this
there.
video up later, that all your contact information will be in the feed. But John, I just want to say thank you so much. This has been so enlightening. It's been a great conversation with
Thank
you.
you.
But before we go, I got to do some house business. Thank you everyone that has been along this journey with me for these last 16, 17 weeks. This has been great, and I'm looking forward to the weeks ahead. We've got some amazing shows coming up. I got some really, really good people, some stuff that's locked and loaded, and especially stay tuned for March. March is going to be a big month. You're going to see a lot of really good stuff, and I can't wait to share. So I'm going to leave it at that. But you can also continue to support by make sure you're following my Instagram page, and also I have a subscription, so definitely join the subscription. I do a lot of behind the scenes stuff for the photo shoots and things that are coming up, and also every Wednesday night for the subscribers we have what we call cocktails with subscribers, where I jump on for a half an hour to an hour and we just basically chill with all the subscribers and just kind of talk about different things, drink some cocktails. And then I share some additional stuff that I don't normally share during the regular shows or on my feed itself. So definitely do that. Us as creators, in order to keep doing this, we need support. You can show support in many different ways. Sharing my posts, in your stories, put it in your feed, subscribing, buying badges, all those lovely things. So, but thank you guys so much for continuing to support me. I'm going to keep continuing to bring you great content, great guests like John every week. So with that being said, we are at 1 o'clock, and I'm proud of myself for being on time. John, I'm going to take you up on that podcast, so you guys can in the near future see me on that. All right, but in
2 weeks.
Well, let's make it happen. Let's make it happen. All right, guys. Thank you so much. Have a great weekend, John. I will talk to you. Bye-bye, everybody.